Like I was telling the subscriber, we got to start with one property and get you used to owning and operating rental property. Get you, because if we can't just bury you in rentals and expect you to learn it. And you don't want to hire management companies typically because they're just charging 5-10% of every month's rent just to collect your rents. We can tell the tenant where to send our checks, and if a toilet goes out, call the plumber. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this one out. The other thing is tenant placement. See, and this is where the big institutional buyers that bought apartment buildings are in big trouble. They're not screening. They basically review people on paper, their credit score, their income, based on a couple of years of tax returns, place tenants. And for me, tenant placement is an art form. You want high quality, high caliber tenants. And that's the other thing I've shared with you guys. Just like if you were shopping for a rental, you want to put your best foot forward. You don't want to come in with some hard luck story, some sob story. Landlords like me, we do not want to hear that. If you come to me and like, yeah, my landlord's kicking me out and it was unfair, I'm like, wow, I don't want this headache. But if you come to me like, hey, I've got a tenant overview letter or a rent resume, here's my bullet points, my strengths. I'm like, wow, okay, accompanied with your actual application, I'm going to put you at the top of the list, and I'm going to be looking at you. But we'll get into more of that later. And I've got, if you can dig back into some of my past videos in terms of if you need a rental, the best way to obtain rentals and get selected for the property. Now today, but what's really most important as a landlord myself for a long, long time and had plenty of tenant turnover. Tenant turnover is not your friend when it comes to rental property, because that means missing month's rent, getting it ready again, advertising it, showing it, selecting a tenant again, all over. And if you're like me, like I said, I'm going to try to search for high-level tenants, because most of my tenants, they stay put for a couple reasons. If you've been watching my show, I use the same approach when buying and selling property as I do when renting property. As soon as I have a tenant turnover and I have a space available, I find out who my competition is. I see what are like properties renting for, and I just beat them, and I have the best price rental in town. I don't have to go way under them, but I come in a little bit under everybody else, and I get every available renter in town over to this property. I orchestrate an open house like I would with a normal property, and then let people tour through, give them applications, see who turns them back in, and select my tenant. But anytime I have tenant turnover, I'm going to be missing at least 1 month's rent. And 1 month's rent is not good. I don't like to miss month's rent. I'd rather give somebody a little discount and keep them there long term than have tenant turnover. And that's exactly what's happening now.